Chapter 13 of Moonbear. The doctor was furious. He paced up and down between the cages and glared at me. "You've only been here for 3 days and already we have a dead bear." I stared at the floor. I clenched my hands and fists. I had told him Mama Bear was sick, but he'd done nothing. I could see Aznog out of the corner of my eye. He was keeping his head down, hosing the drainage channel, even though I already swept it clean this morning before he arrived. The doctor kicked a bucket across the concrete, shattering bear food. It clanged against the fall wall, spinning the gruel of watery rice down the floor. The bears jumped and hooted in their cages. The doctor lifted Mama Bear's head and dropped it down again. "How much did you think it cost to buy another bear?" I swallowed hard. "Too much," spat the doctor. "I can't afford a new bear, and I will get less money now with one less bear, so you two will get less, understand?" Aznog kept his eyes on the ground and kept on with his sweeping. I just stared at Mama Bear, kept staring until the doctor turned on his heels and walked away. Through the bars, I watched him walk into the yard and across to the office. The bears stared after him, panting in their cages and turning tight circles. I hoped the doctor would get on his motorbike and leave us for the day, but the beep of a car horn stopped him as a sleek black car slid through the gateway. An armed guard climbed out and opened the passenger door for a suited man to step out onto the yard. The suited man straightened his jacket and brushed the creases of his trousers. I recognized him, even though he wasn't the general in his general uniform. I stepped out from behind the door and looked through the crack to get a better view. I turned to Aznog. "I know the man." "General Chang?" He opened his broom and looked at me. "Everyone knows the general." I frowned and watched the doctor and the General Chang walk into the office. "What's he doing here?" "General Chang comes every week," said Aznog. I watched the general leave the office carrying a packet and climbed back into his car. The window slid up and he was hidden behind the tinted glass. Aznog lit his cigarette. "General Chang's daughter is sick. He comes every week for bear bile. The doctor says it's the only thing that can save her now." I couldn't imagine General Chang having a daughter. I thought of May and Suli. How would I know if they were sick? Would the general know? Would he tell me? Would he even remember who I was? Aznog drew on his cigarette and flicked the ashes to the floor. I watched the smoke spiral upwards and escape through the skyline to the small blue patch of the blue beyond. I wondered if Mama Bear had ever seen the sky, if she'd seen the moon or felt the earth under her feet. "What will happen to Mama Bear now?" I asked. Aznog glared through the open sliding doors at the doctor. "He would sell her gallbladder to Mr. Fomsack at the medicine shop. He'll sell her meat and fur to the market and her paws to the top hotel where they could serve bear paw soup." He stubbled his cigarette to the floor. "The doctor will get his money back and more. There is no need to dock or pay." Aznog hauled Mama Bear onto the cart and wheeled her away. I didn't want to see what he did with her. I set out to feed the other bears. I scraped up what I could of the rice from the floor. Bears plunged their nose into the food trays and slurped up their toothless gums. I sprayed them with water from the hose and let them lick it from their fur. I tried to get Mama Bear's cub to eat, but he wouldn't eat at all. He turned his back. He didn't sway from side to side or bring his head against the bar. He just lay still, his head on his huge paws, just staring through the bars at the stained dark concrete of the wall. Life at the bear's farm gave way to routine. I'd be at the farm by dawn, cleaning and feeding the bears. Aznog hardly came in. He made sure he came the days the doctor came. Twice a week the doctor would come to milk the bears. I grew to hate those days as much as the bears did. When they saw the doctor and heard his metal bar chain clanging against the bars, they hooted and moaned. Bitter would slash the air with his claws. He would slash anyone, Asnog, the doctor, and even me. I learned how to bottle the bear bile and how to dry it out to make bear bile flakes and powder. The doctor packed it all up to take across the border to his hometown in Vietnam. He said they'd pay double for bear bile there. General Chang came every week for bile for his daughter. He always saw me, but I didn't think he recognized me. I was sure he had forgotten who I was. I'd wait for the doctor to leave. I'd go back to the bear farm late in the evening to take fruit I'd bought at the market with the money I'd earned delivering leaflets for Cam's father. And Cam's father found out Cam was only paying me half the money to deliver the leaflets. Cam's father paid me instead. I didn't think Cam minded. He was thinking up another of his money-making schemes by then. I'd feed the bear papaya and bananas. They liked melon too. It didn't fit through the bars, so I had to unbolt the cage, open the door just a crack, and slip it in. It took them ages to bite into the round sides. It didn't slip through the bars, and it was a game to them, patting the melon with their paws, chasing it around the cage. I think even Mama's cub seemed to like his melon. I never dared open Bitter's cage. I cut the melon up for him instead. The bears got to know me. I'd call them out, "It's me, bears, only me." And they would snuffle their nose against the bars, putting paws through for treats of fruit. I got to know the bears too, not just Bitter and Mama Bear's cub. All 7 of them, all in their different characters. I gave them names instead of numbers on their cage. There was Jem and Jep, 2 brothers, I thought. When they'd slept, like how they liked to press up against the bars to be as close as possible, with paws outstretched towards each other. There was Melly, a huge female bear. She only had 3 paws, and fur was missing from her head and all around her back. I often saw her sitting on her hinds, pulling out great tufts of hair. Nook had been missing a paw too. She liked to watch the small birds that sometimes fluttered high up in the roof space. She would lay on her back and stare up all day long. Hua was a young bear, the smallest in the farm. He was the clown. He liked to roll over and over, and when I was near, he hoot and mock charge at me when I walked near his cage. And if I ever dared to come too close, he'd swat me with his paw. Some evenings I'd run over other errands for Cam. I'd sweep his father's garage yard clean and polish the cars. The yard was always busy with a steady stream of cars and trucks, and especially the lodging trucks, brought in new tires or brakes or busted axles. I spent some of my money I earned on the fruit and the treats for the bears, but I was also saving enough to buy a bolt of red cloth that I knew Ma would like. If I'd saved enough, maybe I would even pay for a trip to take it to her. Then one evening when I was helping Cam clean his father's car, 3 lodging trucks rolled in. Cam rubbed his hands and grinned. We had earned good money cleaning those. I watched the truck's huge wheels roll past us covered in red mud of the forest, bringing the deep, rich smell of the earth, a place that felt so distant from me now. I closed my eyes and breathed in deeply, filling in my lungs. I wanted to be back in the forest. I wanted to find a way back to the mountains and the deep, rich earth, but it seemed like an impossible dream. I didn't know it, but bundled in a crate and hidden in a space beneath in the last truck that rolled in, good luck had just arrived.